Om. 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 Om Brahmanandam Paramasukadam Kevalam Jnanamurtim Dvandvatītam Gaganasadrisham Tattvamasyaadilakshyam Ekam Nityam Vimalamacchalam Sarvadhi Sakshibhutam Bhavatītam Trigunarahitam Satgurum Tam Namami Shruti Smriti Purananam Alayam Karunalayam Namami Bhagavatpadam Shankaram Lokashankaram Shankaram Shankaracharyam Keshavam Badarayanam Sutra Bhashya Kritau Vande Bhagavantau Punah Punah Sadashivasamarambham Shankaracharya Madhyamam Asmadacharya Paryantam Vande Guru Paramparam Vande Guru Paramparam Om Sahana Vavatu Sahanau Bhunaktu Saha Viryankaravavahai Tejasvinavadhitamastu ma vidvishavahai Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Narayanam Namaskritya Naram Chaiva Narottamam Devim Saraswatim Vyasam Tato Jayamudiraye. Jai Gurudev.
हरि ओम। जय गुरुदेव। ओम श्री परमात्मने नमः। अथ अष्टमोऽध्यायः अक्षर ब्रह्म योगो नाम। अर्जुन उवाच किं तद्ब्रह्म किमध्यात्मं किं कर्म पुरुषोत्तम अधिभूतं च किं प्रोक्तम् अधिदैवं किमुच्यते अधियज्ञः कथं कोत्र देहेऽस्मिन् मधुसूदन प्रयाणकाले च कथं ज्ञेयोऽसि नियतात्मभिः। श्रीभगवानुवाच अक्षरं ब्रह्म परमं स्वभावोऽध्यात्ममुच्यते भूतभावोद्भवकरो विसर्गः कर्म संहितः अधिभूतं क्षरो भावः पुरुषश्चाधिदैवतम् अधियज्ञोऽहमेवात्र देहे देहभृताम्बर अन्तकाले च मामेव स्मरन् मुक्त्वा कलेवरम् यः प्रयाति समद्भावम् याति नास्त्यत्र संशयः यं यं वापि स्मरन् भावम् त्यजत्यन्ते कलेवरम् तं तमेवैति कौन्तेय सदा तद्भावभावितः तस्मात् सर्वेषु कालेषु मामनुस्मरयुध्य च मय्यर्पितमनो बुद्धिर्मामे वैश्यस्य संशय अभ्यासयोगयुक्तेन चेतसा नान्यगामिना परमं पुरुषं दिव्यं याति पार्थानुचिन्तयन् कविं पुराणमनुशासितारम् अणोरणीयां समनुस्मरेद्यः सर्वस्य धातारमचिन्त्य रूपम् आदित्यवर्णं तमस परस्तात् प्रयाणकाले मनसाचलेन भक्त्या युक्तो योगबलेन चैव भ्रुवोर्मध्ये प्राणमावेश्य सम्यक् सतं परं पुरुषमुपैति दिव्यम् यदक्षरं वेदविदो वदन्ति विशन्ति यद्यतयो वीतरागाः यदिच्छन्तो ब्रह्मचर्यं चरन्ति तत्ते पदं संग्रहेण प्रवक्ष्ये सर्वद्वाराणि संयम्य मनोरथि निरुध्य च मूर्ध्न्याधायात्मन प्राणं मास्थितो योगधारणाम् ओमित्येकाक्षरं ब्रह्म व्याहरन् मामनुस्मरन् यः प्रयाति त्यजन् देहं स याति परमां गतिम् अनन्यचेता सततं यो मां स्मरति नित्यशः तस्याहं सुलभ पार्थ नित्ययुक्तस्य योगिनः मामुपेत्य पुनर्जन्म दुःखालयमशाश्वतम् नाप्नुवन्ति महात्मानः संसिद्धिं परमां गताः आब्रह्म भुवनालोका पुनरावर्तिनोऽर्जुन मामुपेत्य तु कौन्तेय पुनर्जन्म न विद्यते सहस्रयुगपर्यन्तं महर्यद्ब्रह्मणो विदुः रात्रिं युगसहस्रान्तां ते होरात्रविदो जनाः अव्यक्ताद्व्यक्तय सर्वाः प्रभवन्त्यहरागमे रात्र्यागमे प्रलीयन्ते तत्रैवाव्यक्तसंज्ञके भूतग्रामस एवायं भूत्वा भूत्वा प्रलीयते रात्र्यागमे वश पार्थ प्रभवत्यहरागमे परस्तस्मात्तु भावोऽन्यो व्यक्तो व्यक्तात् सनातनः यः स सर्वेषु भूतेषु नश्यत्सु न विनश्यति। So we were at the verse 13 and I hope about the Om we are very clear that Om as Upasana and Om as contemplation, the difference. I will just read the shloka and then we will go to the new verse. सर्वद्वाराणि संयम्य मनोहृदि निरुध्य च मूर्ध्याधायात्मनः प्राणं मास्थितो योगधारणाम् ओमितेकाक्षरं ब्रह्म व्याहरन् मामनुस्मरन् यः प्रयाति त्यजन् देहं स याति परमां गतिम् closing all the sense organs and withdrawing the mind into the heart, placing his breath at the top of his head and remaining, holding his breath by yoga, chanting the single syllable Om, which is Brahman, giving up the body, the one who departs, remembering me, goes to the most exalted end. If you want me to repeat anything, please let me know before we go to the next verse. I think we had Sarvadvarani Sanyamya, having closed all the gates. Here, Bhagwan Swami, having closed all the gates are the ways through which the world enters into you, the sense organs. So the person discussed here is a yogi, not a gnani. A yogi has to shut out everything and then concentrate. A gnani may shut out the world or may not because he knows his vision has changed. Here, the meditator is sitting in a relaxed posture with all his senses withdrawn. Manohridi nirutyacha, and taking the mind inward. Atmana pranam murdhni adhyaya, placing his prana at the top of his head, he does not allow the breath to be exhaled. Om iti ekaksharam brahma vyaharan, chanting the single syllable Om, which is the name of Brahman, Mam Anusmaran. Thinking of me, Ishvara, he continues to hold his breath at the top of his head. And doing this, that is, continuing to hold his breath in this way, Yoga Dharanam Asthitah Deha Tyajan, giving up his body, Yah Prayati, the one who departs, Saha Paramam Gatim Yati, he goes to the most exalted and death is only for the body, not for the jiva. The jiva keeps traveling until he knows he is the Atma, which is eternal. Then the jivatva, the superimposition upon Atma, dies. The jiva does not die at any time because the truth of the jiva is Atma. And the one who leaves his body in this manner goes to the most exalted, and the word prayati can indicate travel. Krishna says, because of his great meditation, holding his breath, thinking of me and chanting Om, he leaves this body and goes straight to Brahmaloka. There he asks Brahmaji, Lord Brahma, for this knowledge. Brahmaji teaches him the Atmajnana and he is released. Paramagati is the end, which is the discovery of the self being Brahman. This is moksha, but gained in Brahmaloka. This is called Krama Mukti. Ananyacheta satatam yomam smrati nityashah tasyaham sulabha partha nityayuktasya yoginah. Partha, Partha, Ananyachetah Sana, being the one whose mind that sees no other. Yah, the one who, Nityashah, for a length of time, Satatam, constantly, Mam, me, Smarati, remembers. Tasya Yoginah, for that yogi, Nitya Yuktasya, who is always united with me, Aham Sulabhaha, I am easily gained. Partha Ananya Chetasana, Yah Nityashah Satatam Mam Smarati Tasya Yoginah Nitya Yuktasya Aham Sulabhaha. O Partha, the one who has a mind that sees no other, who remembers me constantly for a length of time, for that yogi who is always united with me, I am easily gained. I repeat, O Partha, the one who has a mind that sees no other, who remembers me constantly for a length of time, for that yogi who is always united with me, I am easily gained. Again, here I think Bhagwan is talking about the yogi only, not the jnani. Ananya Chetasa, the one whose mind is not in any object or devata other than oneself. This particular expression is used throughout the Gita. Anya means another. So, Anya Chetas is one whose mind is committed to an object other than himself, whether it is dharma, artha, kama, or even Ishvara as someone other than oneself. The one who does not look upon Ishvara or anything else as other than himself is called Ananya Chetasa. I repeat, Ananya Chetas, the one whose mind is not in any object or devata other than oneself. This particular expression is used throughout the Gita. Anya means another. So, Anya Chetas is one whose mind is committed to an object other than himself, whether it is dharma, artha, kama, or even Ishvara as someone other than oneself. The one who does not look upon Ishvara or anything else as other than himself is called Ananya Chetasa. How long must one contemplate? The Lord says, Shatam, constantly. Shatam yahamam smarati. The one who always remembers me. The word smarana is used here because you can only bring back to mind what you already know. This smarana is always preceded by shravana. It means dwelling upon something and implies contemplation, satsanga, manana, and even shravana. The person spoken of here has undergone exposure to the Shastra and analyzed it, but still has the orientation that he is the body, Dehatma Buddhi. We have seen the difference between an orientation and a confusion. It's a footnote. See page 496, volume 2. I think Swamiji had beautifully explained the orientation part. We have seen the difference between an orientation and a confusion. A simple confusion requires clarification only once. An orientation or habitual error requires repeated correction. Here, the Dehatma Buddhi, the notion that the body is I and I am the body, is such an orientation. That is why, even when the confusion is resolved by the Shastra, one continues to have problems that are due to this identification. This is because this notion has prevailed for a long time. When you have lived your entire life with the notion that you are the body, how are you going to remove it just because the body said tat tvam asi? The orientation has to go, and for that, constant smarana of the fact that I am Brahman or Brahma Abhyasa, as we saw before, is necessary. One must constantly dwell upon this knowledge until the orientation is corrected. I hope you are able to recall where very beautifully Swamiji had given the example of that left hand driving and right hand driving. So we have to have the clear cut understanding So here the difference between orientation and the confusion. So orientation is a habitual error which requires repeated correction. Since shatatam, kshamyatam, satatam, I'm sorry, I read it in the wrong. Satatam. In the previous paragraph also, I read once again, read it wrong. How long must one contemplate? The Lord says, Satatam, constantly. Satatam yah mam smarati, the one who always remembers me. The word smarana is used here because you can only bring back to mind what you already know. This smarana is always preceded by shravana. It means dwelling upon something and implies contemplation, satsanga, manana, and even shravana. The person spoken of here has undergone exposure to the Shastra and analyzed it, but still has the orientation that he is the body, Dehatma Buddhi. So that is the main difference between the Gnani and the Yogi. The Gnani already has attained that Swarupa of Sat Chit Ananda Brahman, Atma. So once that orientation and confusion is, they both, the habitual error is corrected, then those obstacles, avaranas, what Swamiji had beautifully talked about, they are also gone, and then you are in your own Swarupas, which is nothing but Sat Chit Ananda Atma. Since Satatam means always, the question arises as to why has Bhagavan used Nitya Saha, which also means always. This is because the word Satatam is used in the sense of constantly without any interval. So by using this word, the one who constantly remembers Ishvara, that is, the one who spends his time in contemplation, thinking, teaching, discussing, the one who is thus constantly in satsanga is being indicated here. But constantly can be for one day, a week, or longer. So Bhagavan adds another word, Nityasaha, which also means always. The affix sas conveys either that the sense of abundance or limitation. Therefore, the use of the word Nitya Saha indicates that he contemplates until one requires no more contemplation. That is why the meaning given for this word is for a length of time instead of always. How Bhagavan is easily
Can you
able.
just repeat that that para,
Yeah,
Bela? Why it is
yeah.
constant?
Yeah. Since Satatam means always, the question arises as to why has Bhagwan used Nitya Saha, which also means always. This is because the word Satatam is used in the sense of constantly without any interval. So by using this word, the one who constantly remembers Ishvara, that is, the one who spends his time in contemplation, thinking, teaching, discussing. The one who is thus constantly in satsanga is being indicated here, but constantly can be for one day, a week, or longer. So Bhagavan adds another word, Nityasaha, which also means always. The affix sas conveys either the sense of abundance or limitation. Therefore, the use of the word Nityasaha indicates that he contemplates until one requires no more contemplation. That is why The meaning given for this word is for a length of time instead of always.
So till he attains. So that is
Hmm.
why that length of time is mentioned.
Till he becomes that.
Yeah, till he recognizes.
Mhm. So till that samipyam, sayujyam, these all things are requires
Hmm.
constant. How Bhagwan is easily gained. Bhagwan continues and says, Tasya yoginah aham sulabha. For that yogi, I am easily gained. Sulabha means the one who is gained without any difficulty. A number of arguments can be given as to why it is easily gained. Anything that one wants to accomplish requires effort, no matter how small the effort. If it requires effort at all, it is not considered sulabha. Now, the gain of Brahman is the maximum possible gain. You cannot exceed limitlessness. Our orientation is the greater the gain, the greater the effort required to achieve it. But here, the greatest possible gain is said to be easily gained. I repeat, anything that one wants to accomplish requires effort. No matter how small the effort, if it requires effort at all, it is not considered sulabha. Now the gain of Brahman is the maximum possible gain. You cannot exceed limitlessness. Our orientation is the greater the gain, the greater the effort required to achieve it. But here, the greatest possible gain is said to be easily gained. To gain Brahman, Bhagavan says here, one must dwell upon Brahman, the source of all love. What effort do you require to dwell upon what you love? Loving does not require any of effort. It is very natural. At least if it is an object, you have to bring it to mind. But here it is yourself. Atma is Parmeshwara. Therefore, there is nothing to be desired. Its nature is fullness. So, dwelling upon that is a joyous thing. So beautiful. So, that feeling of abundance comes once that recognition comes, feeling of Purnatva. I repeat, it's a very beautiful paragraph. To gain Brahman, Bhagwan says here, one must dwell upon Brahman, the source of all love. What effort do you require to dwell upon what you love? Loving does not require any effort. It is very natural. At least if it is an object, you have to bring it to mind. But here it is yourself. Atma is Parmeshwara. Therefore, there is nothing to be desired. Its nature is fullness. So, dwelling upon that is a joyous thing. Nothing new is produced either. So, it is not born out of effort. It is born purely of recognition of the fact. This is because it is an already accomplished fact. No production is involved. Nothing new is added. Nothing old is removed. As Swamiji had already discussed before, no, that it is Siddha Vishaya. Who is that yogi? He is Nitya Yukta, the one who is endowed with a mind that is always tranquil. It is under control in the sense that it does not have any problem in dwelling upon Bhagavan. It is something that is natural to him. Whenever the mind is free, it goes towards Bhagavan. I repeat, he is Nitya Yukta, the one who is endowed with a mind that is always tranquil. It is under control in the sense that it does not have any problem in dwelling upon Bhagavan. It is something that is natural to him. Whenever the mind is free, it goes towards Bhagavan. As Brahmaraji had rightly discussed so well, that when once you become that Atmaram, you naturally feel like focusing only on Bhagavan and only on Atma rather than becoming Indriya Rama. When you are Indriya Rama, your senses are playing with you and you are always under their control. Ashaya Hadasa. It is like a person who is in love. His mind always goes naturally towards the beloved. Here, the mind naturally goes towards Paramatma because he has understood it as the word smarana indicates. Where else will the mind go? Until he gains such a mind, he continues to do Shravana and uses his will to dwell upon the Lord. Later, the very subject matter takes over and he does not require any will. All that is required is the initial choice. Being one who is Ananya Chetas, whose mind is committed to Parmeshwara, he remains absorbed. So once we know the difference between Shreyas and Preyas, and once we have chosen the path, then the journey becomes very effortless. That's what here Bhagwan is promising. Once that recognition comes, then no other effort or even not your will is required. Anyone wants me to repeat anything, please do let me know. Or if you want to share before we go to the next verse. Okay. By achieving Ishvara so easily, what does one accomplish? Mamupetya punarjanma dukkhalayam shashvatam napnuvanti mahatmanah samsiddhim paramam gatah. Mahatmanah, the wise men, upetya, having reached mam, me, dukh alayam, the abode of misery, ashashvatam, finite, punarjanma, another birth, na apnuvanti, do not gain, paramam sansiddhim, the ultimate success, gatah, they have reached, mahatmanah, mam, dukh, mahatmanah, upetya, mam, dukhalayam, ashashvatam, punarjanma, na apnuvanti, paramam samsiddhim gataha. Having reached me, the wise men do not gain another birth, which is the abode of misery and is finite. They have reached the ultimate success. I repeat, having reached me, the wise men do not gain another birth, which is the abode of misery and is finite. They have reached the ultimate success. I think here Bhagavan is talking about the Jnani now. One recognizes his identity with Ishvara. Mam Upetya, gaining me. Here, Upetya means reaching in the sense of being of the same nature. How is this possible? If there are two objects, one cannot assume the nature of the other. I repeat, as there was a breaking of voice, one recognizes his identity with Ishvara. Mam Upetya. Gaining me. Here, upetya means reaching in the sense of being of the same nature. How is this possible? If there are two objects, one cannot assume the nature of the other. Each has its own attributes. If one becomes the other, the nature of one or both of them is destroyed. If, for example, you add water to milk, you will have a liquid of a different density from either of the original components. Therefore, one object cannot gain identity with another. An object enjoying its own attributes cannot enter into another and remain the same object. Suppose one bhava object is indeed the other bhava, then the separation is only due to ignorance. This is the situation here. Ignorance is the cause of separation between Ishvara and Jiva. And there is an orientation which is also a product of ignorance. Therefore, dwelling on Parameshwara is only to attack that ignorance and to remove that orientation. Gaining identity with Bhagwan is possible because it is an already accomplished fact. This is the gist of the whole previous verses also. I repeat once again, very important, please pay attention. Suppose one bhava object is indeed the other bhava, then the separation is only due to ignorance. This is the situation here. Ignorance is the cause of separation between Ishvara and Jiva. And there is an orientation which is also a product of ignorance. Therefore, dwelling on Parameshwara is only to attack that ignorance and to remove that orientation. Gaining identity with Bhagwan is possible because it is an already accomplished fact. Undesirability of further births. Krishna says further, Punarjanma na apnuvanti. They do not gain rebirth. Two more words tell us the nature of this Punarjanma. One may think it would be desirable to be born again in a better situation, of course. The problem is you will have the same struggle in one form or another because to be born, you must necessarily be ignorant. No one is afraid of another birth, but only the pain. So Bhagavan makes it clear here. He says every birth is an
Leila, I think you'll have to repeat, yeah, because there's some breakage there.
Yeah, I will repeat. Undesirability of further births. Krishna says further, Punarjanma na apnati. They do not gain rebirth. Two more words tell the nature of this Punarjanma. One may think it would be desirable to born again in a better situation, of course. The problem is you will have the same struggle in one form or another because to be born, you must necessarily be ignorant. This is a very, very important statement. No one is afraid of another birth, but only the pain. So Bhagavan makes it clear here. He says that every birth is an abode of pain, dukkhalayam. Alaya is a place and dukkha means pain. There are three types of pain as we have seen. Pain caused by your own body, mind and senses. Adhyatmika, by the big beings around you. Adi Bhautika, and by known forces over which you have no control. Adi Daivika. I think this Percy ji had beautifully talked 2 days ago. I repeat once again. He says that every birth is an abode of pain, dukkhalayam. Alaya is a place and dukkha means pain. There are three types of pain as we have seen. Pain caused by your own body, mind and senses. Adhyatmika, by the beings around you. Adi Bhautika, and by unknown forces over which you have no control. Adi Daivika. Another definition of a physical body is therefore Dukkhalaya, an abode of pain. One thing or another is always in trouble. If everything else is all right, one needs at least some dental work. The body requires constant maintenance like a car. You have to make sure it has fuel and water. You have to check all the parts, and if there is some problem, you have to take it to the garage, the hospital. And you need insurance in case of accidents. But suppose you go to heaven where there is no dukkha, because the physical body you will have there would not be subject to any pain. To cover that, Bhagwan has another word, ashashvatam. It is not eternal. Even if you gain a celestial body, it is not eternal. And you have to reincarnate with a body that is subject to pain. And in a celestial body, although there will not be a predominance of pain, there will be some kind of pain. As long as you are an individual, some trace of pain will be there because of the isolation of being a jiva. Eventually, even a celestial body has to be given up because the punya that has taken and kept you there is exhausted, or the abode, heaven, which is also a part of creation, is itself destroyed. I repeat once again. Is it too much of voice breaking, Brahmaraji?
No, no, it's fine.
I will repeat the last paragraph. But suppose you go to heaven where there is no dukkha, because the physical body you will have there would not be subject to any pain. To cover that, Bhagwan has another word, ashashvatam. It is not eternal. Even if you gain a celestial body, it is not eternal. And you have to reincarnate with a body that is subject to pain. And in a celestial body, although there will not be a predominance of pain, there will be some kind of pain. As long as you are an individual, some trace of pain will be there because of the isolation of being a jiva. Eventually, even a celestial body has to be given up because the punya that has taken and kept you there is exhausted, or the abode, heaven, which is also a part of creation, is itself destroyed. So clearly, Bhagavan is mentioning here. Who are freed from this kind of birth and rebirth? Mahatmanah, those whose Atma is Param Brahma. They gain the ultimate success. Paramam Samsiddhim Gataha. Gataha. Paramam Samsiddhim Gataha. Samsiddhi is success. The only real success is moksha, and this they have gained. Parama means it is the most exalted among the Purusharthas. Those who have gained this freedom will not come back again. Even though gaining the Lord is easy, the result is the maximum. On the other hand, gaining a loka is difficult and the result is dukkhalaya. To choose the letter is a bad bargain. In the next section, Bhagavan talks about what a bad bargain it is. Please remember, again, Indraloka or Brahmaloka is again the Dukkhalayas only. We have to come back once the punyas get exhausted. In the previous verses, Krishna said that those wise men who have recognized me as their own self do not attain another birth. They do not assume another body, which is by nature subject to pain. But what about the others who do not have this recognition? Where do they go and what is their lot? So here Bhagwan has clearly promised that the one who recognizes me, the one who is Jnani, the one who knows that he is his real nature, his real Swarupa is Sat Chit Ananda Atma only. He does not have to come back again in this Dukkhalaya. So there is a new verse where what happens to the one, those who are yogis or those who are jignasu or maybe the mumukshu. Abrahma bhuvana lokaha punaravartinorjuna mamupetya tu kaunteya punarjanma na vidyate. Arjuna, O Arjuna, Brahma Bhuvanat Lokaha. All the worlds where beings exist up to the world of Brahmaji, Punaravartinaha, are of the nature of returning, leading back. To, however, Mam Upetya, having reached me, Kaunteya, O son of Kunti, Punarjanma, rebirth, na vidyate, there is not. Arjuna, Brahma Bhuvanat Lokaha, Punaravartinaha, Mam Upetya, Kaunteya, Punarjanma, na vidyate. O Arjuna, all the worlds where beings exist up to the world of Brahmaji are of the nature of those from which one will return. However, having reached me, O son of Kunti, there is no rebirth. I repeat, O Arjuna, all the worlds where beings exist up to the world of Brahmaji are of the nature of those from which one will return. However, having reached me, O son of Kunti, there is no rebirth. Brahma Bhuvanat Lokah Punaravartinaha. The worlds where beings exist up to Brahma Loka led back. The prefix A, Ang, Maryada, Abhividhau. I think, Brahmaraji, could you please explain? There is, am I correct in the pronunciation? Ang, Maryada, Abhividhau. It is Anga, right? Ang.
Where is that?
There is a footnote here.
Brahma Bhuvana Loka Punaravartinorjuna.
Yeah, there is a footnote here.
Ang Maryada. Ang Maryada
Maryada
Abhividhau.
Abhividhau.
Yeah.
The prefix A, and it is Ang, has the meaning of up to. That is, it indicates the limit of something. It may or may not include the point of demarcation. Therefore, the expression Abrahma Bhuvanat Lokah, all the worlds up to Brahmaloka, can either include Brahmaloka or may not include Brahmaloka. We have to analyze the context and see if Brahmaloka is included or not. In this section, Bhagwan is saying that anything created, which is everything other than Paramatma, is by nature something from which you will return. Punaravartinaha. Since all the lokas, including Brahmaloka, are created, Brahmaloka, otherwise called Satyaloka or Kritaloka, is also included in the description Punaravartinaha. So here the meaning of Ang is up to and including. Okay. So Abrahma
I
Bhuvanat.
just want to state here, just like in Sanskrit, the word I is explained here up to. That way, that clip which I was talking about yesterday or day before on ahimsa, or did not mean, hinsa means violence, or did not mean non-violence, a limit of violence. There, that word was interpreted like that. Jai Gurudev.
Yeah, that is such a beautiful. Thank you for bringing it to the notice. Yeah. So here the meaning of A is up to and inclusive. Bhuvana means a world in which beings exist. Brahma in this verse is Hiranyagarbha Brahmaji, who resides in Brahmaloka. Therefore, Brahma Bhuvana refers to Brahmaloka where Brahmaji resides. When the Lord says all the worlds up to and including Brahmaloka are Punaravartinaha, what it means, in other words, is that they are subject to destruction. This world, the very ground on which you are standing, is perishable, as is your physical body. If this world is destroyed, there is no possibility of you remaining to witness the destroyed world because your body is part of it. Nor is there any question of you retaining this physical body no matter where you go. All the physical bodies and the worlds in which they exist are subject to destruction. There is a time when everything must dissolve in the cause, and there is not a single place in the creation which is going to survive the final dissolution, Mahapralaya. Therefore, the Lord says, Arjuna, if you are planning to go to Brahmaloka or any other loka, you will have to return because all the lokas, including Brahmaloka, are subject to destruction. There is one possible exception to this in the case of some people. Shruti allows that those who go to Brahmaloka may not come back. This is not merely because they have gone there, but being there, if they are taught by Brahmaji, they come to understand that Atma is Parmeshwara and are thereby freed and they do not come back. Therefore, even those people are freed and do not come back, not by virtue of going to Brahmaloka, but because of knowledge. So here again Bhagavan has confirmed Jnanena eva mukti. So even while after going to Brahmaloka, only with the knowledge there is moksha. Mam upetya tu kaunteya punarjanmana vidyate. But having reached me, Kaunteya, there is no further birth. How do they reach Parmeshwara, who is not located in this or any other loka? And if they have to go somewhere to reach Parmeshwara, they have to come back. They reach him in terms of the knowledge that as Sat Chit Ananda Atma, they are non-separate from Parmeshwara. They reach him by knowing that he is Brahman, which is Sat Chit Ananda Atma, out of which all this creation has come, and which is the very truth of all creation. Reaching Ishvara in this manner, that is by knowledge, they do not have rebirth. Otherwise, all lokas are subject to time, and for that reason alone, one has to return from them. How long one remains there does not matter. It is still not eternal. Here, two questions are implied. Why are all the lokas such that one must return from them? Because they are subject to time. Then, how are they limited by time? That is pointed out in the next verse. Should I go to the next verse? Or kindly let me know, or we can just
I think we'll
Manana.
do Manana now and then.
Yeah, I will just read shloka once again, which we completed today. From verse 14. अनन्यचेतातं यो मां स्मरति नित्यशः तस्यां सुलभ पाठ नित्यस्य योगिनः. O Partha, the one who has a mind that sees no other, who remembers me constantly for a length of time, for that yogi who is always united with me, I am easily gained. मामुपेत्य पुनर्जन्म दुःखालयमशाश्वतम् नाप्नुवन्ति महात्मानः संसिद्धिं परमां गताः. Having reached me, the wise men do not gain another birth, which is the abode of misery and is finite. They have reached the ultimate success. आब्रह्मभुवनालोकाः पुनरावर्तिनोऽर्जुन मामुपेत्य तु कौन्तेय पुनर्जन्म न विद्यते. O Arjuna, all the worlds where beings exist up to the world of Brahmaji are of the nature of those from which one will return. However, having reached me, O son of Kunti, there is no rebirth. If you want me to repeat any paragraph, please do let me know. Otherwise, we will just close our eyes for a few minutes and contemplate on what we have covered today, these beautiful verses, and then we will share our takeaways from today's. Hari Om. Kindly share your takeaways. For me, this thing is very clear that as long as you remain in that deha bhava, even as yogi, you have to come back to this dukkhalayam, which is a abode of these three pains as mentioned, Adi Daivik, Adhyatmik, and Adi Bhautik. So we have to be Jnani and we have to recognize that we are that Sat Chit Ananda Swarupa. Kindly share your takeaways.
And the reason why Nitya Yuktaha and Mam Smara, the aspects of um, remembering remembering the divine all the time for a length of time, is because number one, we have this orientation. Two things. One is the confusion, second is the orientation. Confusion may go, but the orientation is what holds you back. The orientation that we have over the thousands of lifetimes that we've had. So, in order for that orientation to go, the smara is very important. Smarana. And for that, the beginning is Shravana. Shravana is the first and foremost step. Only after that will, and then you do clarify your doubts, manana, and then with for a length of time when you're doing this, then you can hope for that orientation to go. It is not just going to go away like that. And it all depends on how strong everybody's orientation is. So everyone is different. Like yesterday we saw the um, the effort required will be different for different people. Also, the methods used will be different for different people, depending on their orientation, depending on where they have their um, orientation fixated. So, this orientation that we have on the body, mind, senses is what we have to loosen up. Otherwise, the whole journey is sukhena, because it is all talking about you, which is that you are nothing but love. And like very rightly Swamiji pointed out, how can you not love itself? It is such a beautiful aspect. And so the path itself is beautiful, but the effort required will vary. So the effort is to remove this, dilute this orientation till it disappears.
Yeah.
Jai Gurudev. Okay,
Can
you
I,
carry on.
you, you want me to,
No, no,
you
you,
go
Dr. Mala, you continue.
ahead? Okay. No, I just, that's good. I mean, he's talking about orientation and confusion. That brings the point, like, um, first of all, our orientation towards the body, like this their Atma Buddhi, So when we attach ourselves, that I part is our, we are connected with this body that we see, the Atma, we do not see that directly, so we cannot attach. But then when we have the understanding what this body is, what the human being is, so when you try to apply that tattva that we read, it's made of these 5 elements, the stula sarira, and then the other sushma sarira and other things made of all that five manjanendriyas, karmendriyas, panchakoshas, and manobuddhi and ahankara and all that. So when we know all of that is not that then that becomes easier for us to orient ourselves. It's not Atma, is you. And also the other part we read, but the Srishti is this Paramatma, and Paramatma is the Srishti. So when you say that we are part of that Srishti, so, and when you unite with that Paramatma, then it becomes one. So that is where that orientation to be. So I again, here it's nicely given. And then we read this back in Karma Yoga, I believe, that Papa, Punya, and all that, where that when you do have a lot of Punya, then you go to other lokas, and when you spend all that and you come back again. And in this particular one, it says related to, is that the same? What I'm wondering. Uh, yeah, so then given that when you constantly thinking about it, about this Atma, and unite with that would be reaching him. That's what that Ananya, that number 14. I'm probably going to 15 also. Sorry, go ahead.
In the orientation part, the role of Maya, I think that is left out. Uh, we are made up of 5 tattvas, yes, but also in proportion with the 3 gunas, Rajo, Tamo, and Sattva. The Sattva guna is the uncovering of the veils that we have put on the knowledge, the hidden knowledge that is there of the ultimate. And Rajoguna is the veiling that is done. And Tamoguna is getting lost in the objects, desires,
Yeah,
craving, aversions.
yeah,
So
quite
that is
agree with that.
causing,
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
yeah, that is
Yeah,
causing the orientation. It's part of the orientation. And that also needs to be looked into. Jai
that's
Gurudev.
true. Yeah, that is also true. Like the gunas and Dvanta, like we always see um, is, God is separate from us, so then and the pleasure and pain, all these pairs of opposites, like, so with that kind of thing, then it becomes, I would take that back, that pleasure of the pleasure and pain. But here, that one uh, duality, that becomes one by purifying the mind. Of course, when we have to overcome all these 3 gunas, and then the duality, and getting the mind in single pointedly, then you unite with that Paramatma, like you, as you said, that will remove that ignorance, veil of ignorance. That's true. Thank you.
Actually, from chapter 6 itself, like even I have been going through this quite a lot. It is a gradual progression as to how dukkha is caused. And then all the explanations of your desires turning into sankalpas, cravings, aversions, and all that goes on. And then it moves on as to how you can come out of that. In chapter 7, that you need to have a contemplative mind. And for that, what you need to do. So your sadhana, your meditation, etc., leads you. And finally, in chapter 8, it is saying whatever we are doing right now is that coming into the shelter of Bhagwan, realizing that it is all me, you're part of me. And only when you realize the ultimate truth that you are part of Paramatma, then Sukha prevails. Then there is no rebirth. So there is a gradual progression from going from Dukkha to Sukha that is explained how you can come out of sorrow. And it's so wonderful. People just have to realize this. This is the way to go from sorrow to bliss. And this is exactly what Gurudev tells us to do. Sadhana, seva, satsang, being in knowledge. All this is so wonderful. Walking the path leads you to bliss. Ultimately, you have to come to the shelter of Bhagwan. Jai Gurudev.
Jai Gurudev. I was just thinking how the Gyanis or the sannyasi to get rid of that they buddhi. They like in Jainism they don't wear clothes because they want to or that thing that body sense they drop. And even in Hindu culture they wear those saffron clothes and nothing except the clothes. They don't wear any like ornament or any uh, attachments like whatever. They only the simple robes, and that too or just hanging. They just to cover the body, or maybe a cloth piece only just to wrap. So the significance of is that they want to drop that, or the already it has been dropped the deha buddhi, because that is the most it's a big hindrance uh, one comes to like it's it's the body, mainly the body which attached with the senses. So when you take care of your outlook also, I think that also has an impact on your mind and intellect too, and you get more of concentrated on your atma part, because most of the time we are focused on body. We eat what we like, the eating part, the dressing part, the like it occupies most of the uh, most of our like the thinking process, you know. I think the the more the person is simple, it's not
It's true that you
getting
don't
into that
possess too
body.
much of things,
Yeah,
then you get rid of most of the things. Like, I don't know,
yeah,
you
not
saw that
cutting
the
hair.
crust.
So that I think that is the only this thing. No? They don't. They the hair grows. They don't cut them. They don't have that body sense is not there. So that is. I was just thinking over this, that this day buddhi to get rid is very difficult, because from so many lifetimes you are taking birth, and uh, every time you have a body and you are so possessive of your body that anything which you get wrong, you want to just correct it. So
It's one thing is that, but the other thing is you need the body for Atma to, until you
yeah,
have that darshanam, like where we will be probably reading
yeah,
further,
they
like
have
Kshetra said
no,
Prajna,
they
or
do
that.
their practices, like they do
Yeah.
the yoga, they do
So
the pranayam, but the dressing part,
even for
the
the
outlook.
food
Yeah,
part, they say you have to have food to have that strength, otherwise you lose. But the other, I mean, of course, you don't want to eat too much food and things like that. The dress and other
no.
part is different, that's
Yeah,
the
I was
main.
just pointing to the outlook part, no? That
Yeah.
they have that knowledge how much to eat. They have a disciplined life. They do pranayam, they do yoga, but uh, the outward appearance they do not bother. Basically, I was just thinking over that,
You're
and
very
the
right,
clothes.
Dr. Savita. I would completely vibe with what you're saying. See, the simple fact, how much time do you spend in front of the mirror after your bath, before you get out for work or wherever, would probably be an indication of how much dehabhimana you have. Not that you should just go without a care for your appearance. Ultimately, we are living as a social being, so some etiquette is important. Some being natural is important. But to what extent? Some people are so overwhelmed by, they indulge in their outwardly looks. Even as much as
what dress to wear, how much time do we spend on that, what so all this, if we can be aware, it is not like there is right or wrong over there, just being
Yeah.
aware that will slowly loosen the hold of our dehabhimana. So
Yeah.
of course, completely agree that the deha, we have to take care. You don't become a hypochondriac, neither do you don't go to the extremes, neither hypochondriac nor completely careless. You take enough care of your body, because that is the instrument with which you gain this ultimate knowledge. So you have to take care of your, be practical about that. But then at the same time, understand where what is. Like how Gurudev says, keep your ego. Ego is not so, it's not bad. People brandish ego as, oh, it is not good. Ego is essential for us to do. Even if we have to come on to this Manana session, that little bit of ego is required. That so keep it where it is required, where it is needed. Keep it in your pocket. That's what he says. Even money, don't keep it in your head. Keep it in your pocket. Because money is ultimately required. So I think it's a change in our way we look at all of this. It is not denouncing, saying neti neti all through, but keeping that neti neti behind. Give whatever importance is required for each of this: body, mind, senses, and then pursue this moksha purushartha to the best of your our ability.
Yeah, very right.
When you go from, I mean, I agree with you guys, but I'm just saying that when you say you're not the body, you're not the mind, it just basically, these are something like it is explained in this previous verse that whatever loga you go, you come back, you're going to have that birth and death. Whoever is born is going to be dying. So this dega is going to be dying. So it's not going to be the permanent source. So what is the permanent thing is like the Atma. So that is the, union with the Paramatma. That's the knowledge. So when we are trying to focus on that, that's what I'm trying to say that. But when you go from, like Persiji pointed out, we have to go over the nirguna, you even like overcome the three gunas and all that. There are so many things, right? Like you need to let go of your krodha or desires in your and the ego. Those are the three things to go to, even to keep your mind serene, to attain this knowledge. So that is the bottom line. Like when you go from Sankhya yoga to Karma yoga to Bhakti yoga, now you're in this extra yoga. So that, sorry. So I'm trying to understand, where we came from, and then, where we are going with it. All I just trying to, to my own little brain to understand this and put it in that way. Your points are well taken. Thank you.
On a lighter note, Dr. Mara, when you said, I'm trying to understand where we came from, what came to my mind was, we started with we end with but what we are is that pure consciousness that is underlying. We came into birth, the Srishti, Sthiti, we live for a while, that and we get destroyed, we get into the Pralaya. But beyond all of this is that underlying substratum, which is that infinite consciousness, that pure consciousness. So that takes us back to the, I think, 2, 3, 4 shlokas behind in chapter 8, where he talks so much about Om.
Yeah, I kind of missed some of that earlier part of the, I had to catch up on that.
Yeah, please read the PDF, or you can go through the videos that are already there on the YouTube, so that you can keep abreast.
Yeah, that pure consciousness is where we want to, like all the rivers go and join the ocean. That's how we are. Like we have to reach there and mix with it. It's whatever time we are left with, but that's we have to use it up to figure it out. So that's it's kind of like it says this satatam, length of time. The more and more nowadays, your thought is there all the time, So I feel like, I still have to do all the other work and doing other stuff, um, but mine goes there automatically, think about, oh, what this is and what that is, and inquiring more. And
That
then
is,
Vijayji posted that quest. It was so beautiful to
please
look at
watch.
Swamiji's
Yeah.
Chinmayananda. It's so beautiful. You want
It's
to
a
be in
2-hour
Rishikesh.
movie. I would
Uh,
suggest everybody to watch it.
it is so beautiful, man. Like you,
Mm,
you really want to be there. I mean, with him,
mm,
it just perfection, like when he says that he sees the perfection, the srishti and all
mm.
these things, like you see it everywhere, like it opens your eyes even wider to look at everything and stop and see, like everything is the Paramatma, so it just, your heart melts, when you go out and see them, like it's really, really nice.
We are with Swami Chinmayananda throughout. It is the Ganga, no? He started
Yeah,
off
I mean,
on
I
Jnana
really felt
Ganga.
like all our group, should go there and
Yeah,
do some meditation. I mean, or even the Swami Sivananda ji, like I read about him as well, like a little bit, that he's a doctor, that he gave up everything and he settled down there, and then literally to see him there, it was nice. I mean, it's of course drama, but it is the truth, and it's really nice to see that.
and Swami
Paramatma.
Dayananda Saraswati is Swami Chinmayananda's direct disciple. So the
Yeah,
Jnana Ganga that has been going on for ages. It's not Swami Chinmayananda is part of that the Guru Parampara. It has been
right.
going on from Sadashiva. It has come down. So
Yeah.
all our respects and reverence to all of them for keeping this knowledge alive.
Yeah,
In
I mean, can you believe how
mm,
Chinmaya brought this knowledge up?
mm,
I mean, tried to spread that was his vision, and like talk about our seva. Even like I was thinking about it, is as we are doing this Manana session once a week or so, we should choose some common, thing, and we should pray for, for that to for local goodness, So I know everybody prays on their own, but I'm sure in together, we will make some difference. Um, I really felt really, that there was really great movie to take,
yeah.
show it to the world. It was really
Jai
nice.
Guru, Jai Gurudev Brahmaraji.
Yes,
I
Mataji.
have still this thing in my mind that, of course, Prakriti is Triguna-avalambini, and it makes you dance without realizing also that you are dwelling in the Maya through and through. It's like a bottomless patra kind of thing. But then from the Shastras, when it is so clearly mentioned that before taking this body, you were in Om. Now also you are in Om and you will be dissolved in Om. And then why not, and up to what extent, how to do that Omkar sadhana when I know that my destination is the same and I have come out of it also. And I am reveling in that. So this is, and then the great people are saying that Omkar sadhana is not for grahasthas and so many things. So it is a little bit, I don't know if you can ask Nana ji or someone, ki, how to really practice, do this Omkar sadhana little bit in our day-to-day life.
Yeah. No, even I have the same question. If that is the ultimate, then why don't we just practice this Omkar sadhana? That is there even in the back of my mind. Nana said after June today, till today he's kind of busy. He said he will come on one of these days, and it'll be good for all of us to keep our doubts and questions ready so that he can clarify them. One of these days, maybe end of next week or so, we'll have a session with him.
Yeah, otherwise what's happening, though we know, but still most of the time of our day when we are awake, it's most of the time our time is going indirectly or directly into the dehadhyas only. Means connected, many things connected with deha only, the karma is happening most of the time. So powerful Onkar sadhana, which is my anyway destination. So that will help us a lot. That's what I felt. So please, Jai Guru.
So we'll just have 4 minutes. Today we'll have to close at 6:30 sharp. We have a Kriya follow-up at home. So we'll just run through this. Has anyone been able to read and summarize verse 29? Chapter 6. Sarvabhutasthamatmanam sarvabhutani chatmani ikshate yoga yuktatma sarvatra samadarshanaha. Yoga yuktatma, one whose mind is resolved by this contemplation. Sarvatra, everywhere. Samadarshanaha, one who has the vision of sameness. Atmanam, the self. Sarva bhutastham, abiding in all beings. Sarva bhutani, all beings. Cha, and Atmani, in the self. Ikshate, sees. Yoga yuktatma sarvatra samadarshanaha atmanam sarvabhutastam sarvabhutani cha atmani ikshate. One whose mind is resolved by this contemplation, who has the vision of sameness everywhere, sees the self abiding in all beings and all beings in the self. So this I actually read a bit, not the whole thing. It's a pretty long PDF. If anyone else has also been able to go through this and is wanting to summarize, please go ahead. We have 2 minutes. Although I read, it is like not enough to just read once. I think there is more, we're either putting down as notes in order for us to actually bring it up. Here, what I understood, the gist is, for the little that I understood here was that there is, I related it to that Spandakarika, where we have the special vibration and the ordinary vibration. Ordinary vibration is that runs in and through creation. Whereas the special vibration are all the other beings and living things, non-living things and all of that. So when we take our attention from the special to the ordinary vibration, that is, we see the sameness in everything. And that ordinary vibration runs through creation. It is because of that that creation happens. So if we are able to keep our attention in that, then you get the samadarshana bhava. Everything is part of you and you are there in everything. Like you don't distinguish the right hand and the left hand. Both are part of your body. Similarly, if you can see you yourself in everything in creation, and that everything in creation is in part is in you, then that sarva bhutastam atmanam pashyati happens, and sarva bhutani cha atmani. That comes when this yoga yuktatma, when you are reveling in that, when your mind is resolved by this contemplation of this Atma, when the knower, known, and the knowledge, all of them merge. Here, Swamiji gives the example of gold and chains. Gold is that sameness. Gold is that ordinary vibration. Gold is that runs in and through all the creations made from gold, like the chain, bangles, rings, everything. So your attention is on the if your attention is on just the creations, you are only seeing differences between human beings and every other aspect of creation. But if your attention is on the gold, then you are yoking yourself to that pure consciousness.
So what is
But
the other vibration, Dr. Pramada? You said
But,
one is
ordinary and special. Yeah, special is each of us. Each of us has our own unique attributes. No, like a human being is different in name and form from compared to, say, a dog or a cat. So they're all special vibrations. But what runs in and through all of us is that the reason we exist also is because of that ordinary vibration that runs through creation. If you look at that, if you look at Om, the A, Uma are the, the special vibration. I'm not sure whether we can simplify it that way, but the one that runs in and through is that pure consciousness that is the substratum. So I read it till there. So if anyone else, I think we will all read it one more time, and maybe we'll go through the PDF like we did for the previous verse. But I would urge each one of us to read, go back to the PDF, even for a little while. The Shravanam is what will ultimately help in diluting our orientation. Shravana, the importance of Shravana cannot be overemphasized. So shall we stop here today? Om Loka Samasta Sukhino Bhavantu. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Om Tat Sat Shri Krishna Arpanamastu. Jai Gurudev.
Check it.